Welcome to the Successful Life podcast. This is your host, Corey Barrier, and I am here with Brandy Velasquez. I can't pronounce her last name. Velasquez. Say it for me, Brandy.
Velasquez.
There we go. So, Brandy, I am excited to hear about your story. I'm excited to hear about, some of your successes, some of your failures, and just really, I want to get to know who you are. So
Okay.
we'll open up with that and get started.
All right. What do you want to know?
So, so tell me, what, as a child, let's start there. How was your childhood? Okay. Was it, just kind of tell me a little bit about, did you grow up in a good family? Did you grow up in a whatever family?
So my childhood was actually not so good, but good, I guess. So my mom was kind of the person that was our caretaker. So she was the person that always took care of us. She worked a part-time job, things like that. My dad is amazing and provided for us, but probably wasn't the greatest when it comes to certain things. So It was a little rough, but they were married for 23 years. And then they divorced when I was in high school. Oh no, it was a year after high school because I was 19. And I was actually pregnant with Tyson when I found out. Okay. And so that was a little rough because it's kind of hard to see your parents that you've grown up with, but it's kind of one of those things that you've seen coming from a mile away. Sure. A little bit, because they just were definitely two different people, which is great sometimes and it works, but for them, it just didn't work.
Now, do you think they stayed together until you left? Did they stay together because of you?
I believe they did. I think they did just because I think my mom was so worried about finding someone who actually wanted or could care for us in a way that was acceptable to her. And I think that's kind of the reason why she stayed as long as she did. Otherwise, I think she probably would have left a little earlier, for sure.
It's interesting. My wife, her parents, same thing. As soon as she finished high school, done. They were 30 years, I think, or something.
Yeah.
So, yeah. All right. Well, okay. So you said you were pregnant at 19.
19. Yep. And I was 20 and I had, 20, correction. 20, and then I actually had my son 6 days before my 21st birthday.
Tell me about that. Tell me how.
Oh my goodness. In Utah, I swear, I can blame Utah, but really it was just my own stupidity. But, you think you're in love with the one person and that you're going to be with for the rest of your life. That's not how it was. It didn't take long before you realize who the person really is. And got pregnant, married really young, got divorced after, I think it wasn't even a year, went our separate ways. From there, was single for a while, dated a little bit, met another person. I was with them for 12 years. Obviously with 12 years, it's off and on, like whatever, you have your little splits or whatever, come back together at the beginning, split, come back together, and then you stay together. And that didn't turn out so well either, but I got 2 freaking amazing kids. So now I have 3, so that equals 3.
Okay. So were you married those 12 years?
Yep.
Okay. All right. Go ahead.
Yep. So had Kyson when I was 20, and he was born 6 days before my 21st birthday. Then I had Gage, who is my middle son. And then I had Essence, who is my baby girl. And she's 7.
Awesome. Okay. So 3 kids by the age of 20.
Well, shoot. Let's see. 28, what I think. Is that right?
We'll just say 28.
We'll see. I don't know either. Let's see. Hold on. 29. There you go.
So now, did your mom get pregnant with you early?
So my mom actually had me when she was 16. Yeah.
Wow.
She had me when she was 16. My dad was 2 years older, so he was 18. And then when they found out my mom was pregnant, it was kind of like back in the day, you don't do that. So it was like, you two are getting married. You'll live here until you can get established and then be on your way. So they had to
So,
raise kids raising kids.
right. So, how do you think, looking back, how do you
Mhm.
think that played into the timeline with you being, getting pregnant at 19 or 20?
20,
I
yeah.
mean, granted, there's a 4 year difference, but still
Yeah,
very young. Do
yeah.
you have you thought about that? Have you thought about how the
Uh,
similarities there?
well, you're gonna freak out in a minute because all my kids were not planned.
Okay, well that makes
I,
sense. To me, it
which
makes
is why,
sense.
they're so far apart.
Okay.
So Kyson, I was on birth control. I was doing the pill or whatever, and taking that, and found out I was pregnant, and it was like, oh whoa, I
How'd you?
was not ready for a kid at 20. There's no, yeah. I don't think anyone's ever really prepared to have a kid. Even when you're prepared, I don't think you're still prepared. Like they don't come with the manual. And everything that your parents try to teach you, it doesn't matter because I think every kid is so different. Like what works for my son doesn't work for my daughter. What works for my middle kid doesn't work for the other two. Their personalities are across the spectrum.
Yeah, I bet. I bet. Yeah, I
Yeah.
don't know. So I don't have a biological child that I know of.
Yeah.
Um,
That you know of.
you never know. So I could never picture going through all of that, the labor, not me personally, you know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
I can't, it would have to be by accident. And I always said that's the way it would have to go down because I just don't think I could ever commit we committed for a month and tried. And I was like, no, like this, I'm out. And so was she because she was like, I've gained weight. And I'll be honest with you, that's part of the reason, probably greater than 50% reason,
Yeah.
maybe larger than greater,
Mm.
that we decided not to have a child ourselves because we like the way we look.
Yeah. It's it's you can't think like that though, because it's not what it does. It's really when that baby's born, it's like everything in your life changes. It's the most. I was telling Tyler, I'm like, it's the most stressful but rewarding thing in the entire world. Like it is. It they don't come with operation manuals. Like it's literally learning as they're growing, and every single one of them is different. Every single one of them is a different approach, and it's just you're learning all over again.
Wow.
So yeah, but it's honestly it's the most rewarding too at the same time. It's I don't even know how to explain it because you love them and you're like, okay, I'm responsible for this human. How do I make the best decisions for their life?
So that's a great example of, someone who, like myself, who doesn't have a biological child. I
Yeah.
have no idea that to me, that would be a very successful day that,
Mm-hmm.
you've brought a human being into this world and like you created a human being inside of you. It blows my mind. Like it just, and
Yeah.
so that's a feeling that I can't say never, but probably I may never have and may not even want to have. I'm not sure. I mean, if it could just be that feeling and we can move on, great. But that's not how it works. So,
No.
wow. Even okay. So, how how did you, being that young, you missed. I guess from my perspective, I would say you missed a good chunk of
Oh yeah.
yeah.
Life. Everything. Like I even tell my kids now, I'm like, listen, I'm like, just go to school, graduate from high school, go to college, travel, do everything that you want to do, and then have kids. Live your life and then have kids. Like, because I didn't have that opportunity, That's just something like And but I accepted that. Like, that was my rule. Like, okay, the kid is here and it's your kid and you love them, and you're like, okay, now what decisions do I need to make in my life to make sure that my kid grows up with good, healthy standards and maturity and still being respectful. Like, that's still something we struggle with. Every kid's so different, and they're like, with the way my kids act with my mom and dad, my mom and my stepdad, it's completely different than how they act for me. I'm like, what the heck? My mom's like, see, I always told you.
Dude, you are preaching to the choir. So Autumn had, Lana was like 3.5 when Autumn and Lana entered my life. Lana was 3.5. So I've raised her basically since then. So I completely understand. That's a battle that I will never, ever, ever, ever win, is with my mom and with her mom. I mean, with my, the mother-in-law, because they do whatever the hell they want to do. And it's crazy to fuck to me, because my mom's a school teacher, like 3rd grade. Like, how do you not fucking know not to give the kid a jar of peanut butter for lunch? Like, are you stupid? Like, what is wrong? And so,
that's why I'm like, wait, who are you and where did my mom go? Because when I was little, I never got away with any of that stuff. I would get the licking real quick. Like, what the heck are you doing? Or in the store,
absolutely.
And with them, it's completely different. I'm like, where did you go? What happened?
Right. It's like they change. Like, it's like a whole different new person.
Yep.
It can't. I don't even know how to explain it.
Yeah.
It's mind blowing. So, so how do you think that, as far as, not having those years, was there a time later on that you made up for those years, or did you ever, like, how did that work? 1, and then 2, was the father of your first child, what was he in the picture? Was he?
He chose not to be. He was for a little bit, and then he decided, well, when he created another life with somebody else, that person kind of ruined everything for him. And so he lost a lot of years, but, he has nobody to blame for himself for that. You can't control what people do. So it's so important for you to make sure that they're okay in between that time frame, because they don't have, it affects them. So you've got to do your best as a parent to make sure that in every way, try to protect them, I guess you could say. And so you're just trying to build them up and letting them, like, there's times I won't even talk about it. I'll be like, nope. Or if they bring up the subject, and I'll just, for instance, I'd be like, I'll make up excuses, which is stupid, because in the end, it's really just the ignorance of the person. So.
Sure. So it's interesting. Okay. So that when you brought that up, let's talk about the video that Ed showed. That was tough.
Yeah, that was rough.
Because, you think back just to the example that you just gave, and trust me, I have had my fair share of saying things that were not true, that I thought was in the best interest. So I'm sure, obviously, some of it was selfish, but when he played that damn video, I was like, man.
Yeah, it struck a chord. Yeah, for sure. Even, you think about it and you're just like, was I really protecting them, or did I really just screw everything up?
Right.
Because it's kind of like, once they hit the reality check of it, or once they see the truth, it kind of falls back on you no matter what.
It really does. It absolutely does. But in the end, and I'll just say that, I'm sorry, tell me how old the first one is? The very first one?
So he's 14.
Okay, so he knows his dad was a shitbag, or is a shitbag. No?
Yeah, I still struggle. Well, he does, but it's Disneyland Daddy.
Yes. All right. So
how would you explain that? Because his whole thing is, so that's a whole another story. Oh man, I've got stories for you, but we won't go there. But so he was allowed to call him for a little bit, but then he started going, well, you're 14, right? So you can pick what parent you want to live with. Or, you know what? You're turning 16. How about we buy you that R8? I'm like, oh. And as a kid, you're in junior high. Like, it's,
You're taking the car. You're taking the
yeah,
car. I
yeah, of
mean,
course. Yeah, yeah. And so I had to have a long discussion with him about, like, you need to remember who was there during that whole time. I mean, he lost years, decades. Like, I think it was 7 years the first time, and again another year. So
yeah, it's
yeah.
hard, and I can identify with part of that because
Mhm.
I pretty much raised Lana until her biological father decided to get married, and he's the biggest liar ever. But anyway,
Yeah.
he lied to his current wife and he had to live up to his lie and
Mhm.
try to act like dad, and he still sucks, um, but he's better. But the thing
Yeah.
is, there's and Autumn understands because she has a bond with her father, and he, whatever, he's maybe not the best father, but he's not bad, not like this guy. But there's a
Yeah.
bond that is
Yeah.
always there, no matter what. And I'm assuming it's the
Mhm.
same thing with your son,
Yep.
and that's a hard pill to swallow. So how that? I mean,
Oh my goodness, are you kidding me?
yeah,
It's tough to not be like, "Sir,
yeah,
what's up?"
yeah.
Because
You can,
it's not hard to figure out. Like, A leads to B, B leads to C. Like, you flash money in front of him. He's in junior high. He wants to be the cool kid. He's driving next year. Like, yeah, of course he wants to R8. Of course he wants to be Disneyland daddy who's gonna buy him everything and spend all this money. Yeah, of course he's gonna buy into that. So it's hard.
no question.
Yeah.
No question.
Try swallowing that pill and walking away.
Yeah, no, yeah, it's not quite that bad, but yeah. So I can totally identify with having that feeling of you've worked so hard to build this
Yeah.
character and build this child and to teach them manners, which is hard as fuck.
Mhm.
And then this jackass, just driving up the
Swooped
road, and
in.
she fucking lights up like a Christmas tree in July, and like,
Yeah.
and
It's
it's hard
yeah.
to accept, and it's
Yeah.
hard to not say, hey, there's your douchebag dad, because you can't
Yeah.
say that
Yeah, I
because
know.
now you're really the asshole. So
I know. I have to walk away and I'm like, Tyler, do you know what happened? I'm like, listen. I have to tell him what's been said. And he's even pretty good about being like, shh, like, be quiet. He can hear you. I'm like, like, I walk away, but I'm still, it just boils my blood
yeah, and it's
for
yeah.
sure.
So for
But it's
sure,
hard.
it is hard. I mean, and that's adversity at its worst. I mean, because you're internally, you want to just punch them in the face,
Mhm.
and externally, you got to try to hold it together. And people that have never been through this, they don't understand.
Yeah.
And the child, most of the time, probably doesn't understand until they get to a
Oh
certain
no.
age.
Yeah.
But that the video made me realize she knows
Mhm.
that he's a shitbag.
Yeah.
She knows, whether I know it or not, whether I have the satisfaction of knowing she knows. And
Mhm.
and so, I guess that, it was just still, it sucks, and it sucks for the child too.
Yeah. That's why I say you're trying so hard to protect them. But it's just like, when am I overprotecting them though? Like, at what point do we say, okay, this is what it is? Like, at what point is that okay and acceptable to, like, finally be like, okay, this is the situation, this is what happened, and this is the result. But it's like, I don't want to be that person. So I'm like, I ain't saying nothing.
Yeah, right.
Because
Absolutely.
then if I feel like if I say something, then I'm the bad guy and I'm the villain and I'm the one that's, and so I just, yeah, yeah.
You know,
My own battles.
for sure. In that situation, sometimes you just have to take the high road, and
Mm-hmm.
it's hard. It really is hard. And people say they've got whatever. Yeah, it's very hard.
Yeah, and that's the thing is, that's what I told Tyler. It's like strike two, like and that was that was like, I think that was like my deepest, darkest moments. And I know that was one of your things, but like after 12 years of like putting everything into my marriage and like trying to figure things out that would work and still trying to be able to like move forward and try to like hide the things that weren't really going on and just pretend like everything is okay and smile and and that's the thing that people got to realize too, is what you see on Instagram and Facebook, that's not reality. Like, I love that people post it and it's great to see the beautiful moments in your family, but that's not reality. Like, that's not, you don't see the struggles going behind closed doors. You don't know what those people are going through. You don't know what they've been through. You have no idea the battles that they're facing. And everyone was always like, oh, you guys looked so happy. I never seen anything. I'm like, yeah, people are great at hiding stuff. You become a pro, especially when you just pay attention to Instagram and Facebook.
Absolutely. And another thing too that I believe you and Tyler work together, right?
Yeah. Yep.
So Autumn and I, we don't do the same job, but her office is, two doors over in our house. So unless she's shooting a wedding, she's editing. And unless you're showing a house, you're on the phone and doing whatever you're doing, and he's doing the same stuff. Yep. So that in itself is even more of a challenge. So how do you guys work through that? How does it work? Tell me the good, the bad, the ugly.
You're gonna die when you hear this, because we work so well together. It's weird. Everybody calls us yin and yang. Like, everyone.
Sure.
Even people that are like outsiders, like watching in, they're like, you guys just balance each other. It's weird. And so it's funny because that's really what it is. And neither one of us have ever had a relationship like this. It's weird. So we work together. We're doing workouts together at the gym, or we're going out. We're constantly together. And when we're not together, it feels like a huge piece of us is missing. It's so strange. Like, I've never felt that connection before with anybody. And he's in the same boat too. I mean, he'll even tell you it's so strange. And we're best friends and we're able to communicate, which is good. And that's one thing that we've worked on together is trust me, at the beginning we had our little disagreements, but we've grown a lot since then. And just being able to communicate and tell each other our feelings and how we feel, and just really being open and whether it's work or family or whatever it is, we've been able to communicate and work through it. But really, he is my best friend. Like, we get up, we get ready for work, we get in the car, we go to drive together, we work well together, and we complement each other so well at work that I don't know. It's so weird.
So, and when people listen to this, they're probably going to think he's probably just saying that because she said it, but we have the exact same.
No, it's so strange. Like, I'm not kidding when I say that. I've never had a connection like that before.
Never.
And neither has he. He's even the same thing. He's like, he's like, it's weird because we don't get sick of each other.
Right.
We don't. And when he's gone, like even when he went for the hunt, I'm like, baby, where are you? I miss you. Baby, can you get something so you can come home?
Yes.
And
100% get that.
Or if I haven't heard from him, like, why he didn't have service, and I'm like, why haven't you been calling me? Where are you at? Like, it's so, like, just, it's like a big piece of my life is just like gone until he comes back. It's weird.
I know. And you know why it's weird? Because you may be the first person that I've ever talked to, other than the two people that were on stage, and we won't say their names because
you're fine.
I don't really know. I don't know their situation. I had a conversation about this last night and got some different information, so I won't go into that. But it is strange because we don't hang out with people because we hang out with ourselves.
That's us. That's us.
We don't do shit with anybody because we don't feel the need to. We just, that's bottom line. We just don't.
Yeah. Like if we hang out with somebody, it's usually like a close friend and it's maybe once in a great while, or if we're hanging out with our agents, because it's important for us to build a relationship with our agents because we spend so much time with them and they spend so much time with us. It's important for us to build a relationship with not only them, but their spouses as well, or their girlfriends, or whoever it is that impacts their life. Because the sooner you can get them on board, the easier it is for them to understand. And that's the other thing. I think that's why we work so well together too. And our relationship is so strong is because we both get it. We
Sure.
understand it because we're both in the same business. So it's not like that weird thing like, why are you answering your phone at 11 o'clock at night? What are you doing? You know, I get it. I know. I understand it. I see it on a daily. I see the struggle. I see what it takes to get from point A to point B. I'm living it, you know?
For sure. 100%. But it is, I'm so glad you said that because it is very odd to get along with somebody so well. And
That you're with all the time,
it
literally.
is because, I've never been in a relationship like this
No,
personally.
me either. No. And that's why, and if you've seen like my post recently on Instagram, I was just like, it was a connection from day one. Like it was undeniable. Like, it's insane.
That's awesome because there's not very many people out there like us that have that.
No, no. I didn't even think that was even real, or
Yeah.
if that could even be possible to even, and like my past relationships, if I was with them 24/7 all day, every day, I would want to strangle them. Or be like,
Um,
go away, like go hang out with your friends, like get out of here, like go do
yeah,
something.
100%.
And it's funny because when he's around, I am like, okay, come here, what are you doing? Or he'll come in and check in and be like, I miss you.
Right. Yeah, I get it. I absolutely get it. Um, that is so cool because that's I mean, to me, that's a situation that we're super fucking lucky,
Yeah.
very lucky.
Oh
And it was
yeah.
weird being in St. Louis because Autumn wasn't with me because she's a wedding photographer, so this is her busiest
Yeah.
time.
Oh yeah.
So it was weird her not being there, but it was like homecoming when I finally got home because we'd been apart fucking 72 hours, and like that's a long time for us. I think
That.
maximum, and yeah, that's really about the longest period of time we go without seeing each
Yeah.
other, and that probably only happens once a year.
Yeah. Yeah.
We do
That's
everything
how
like
his was with the hunt, and he was like, "This is the longest we've ever been apart." I'm like, "Yeah, really, it has. It's it's unexplainable for sure."
yeah, without a shadow of a doubt. So
I don't even know how to explain it, but I know you understand it because
I
you're going through
do
the same thing.
totally 100%. I
But
totally
everybody
do.
else is like, "What the heck? How do you guys not get sick of each other?" I'm like, "We just don't. We
No.
don't. We." And that's the beauty of it too, is like I've learned a lot from him. He's helped me grow so much. Like my entire background has nothing to do with real estate. Literally.
Oh,
Nothing.
really?
No. Oh
Okay.
no. So my whole background was in medical since
Okay.
since I was like 17, literally. And I took one adventure away from medical, and that was probably about 3 years ago. And I ran a 24-hour gym as a manager, and that was super successful. And I didn't even like that was by random. So I picked up a part-time job while I was working full-time at the hospital with Vasa. And when I did that, when I was working there, I was only like the front desk because I just was like, I just want to get my pass for free. That's all I was caring
Right.
about. And just a little
Sure.
bit extra money. Like, why not? Like, it's easy.
Right.
All you got to do is buzz people in, make sure the account's paid. It's super easy. And so one of the area directors that I had been working under for a while, wasn't even there that long. I think I was maybe there for like 2 months at that specific location. And he's like, I see the way you interact with people. He's like, I seen you open doors for like the people that they can't access it easily and things like that. He's like, I love the way that you interact with our members. He's like, I've noticed things that you've been doing, and I've just been paying attention. He's like, I want you to run one of my gyms. And I'm like, I get to run one of your gyms? You're crazy. Like this, no way. And he's like, no, really. He's like, I have an opening coming up in about 2 weeks. He's like, I know what's coming. He's like, so what I want you to do is I want you I want you to go apply. He's like, I'm going to push you to the top. He's like, and I want you to come in and interview. And went in and interviewed and was hired literally the next day, went PRN at the hospital, went full time for the gym. And I loved it. I loved it. And that's where most of my management experience, like learning how to deal with housekeeping, my staff, the trainers, being able to communicate with the general managers, things like that. So different levels. Like it's different than running a unit on a medical floor, right? Medical
Sure.
floor, you're calling nurses, techs, things like that, and doing stuff at being a coordinator, right? And so it's completely different because you're dealing with your members at the same time. So you're trying to keep your members happy, keep the equipment done. I mean, you're running everything from A to
Sure.
Z. Like no joke. And then if your employees don't show up, you're searching for employees to cover their shifts. And if their shifts aren't covered, you're going in. It doesn't matter how many hours you work. Your butt is in there and you're covering that shift until you can find someone to come in and help.
Absolutely. So what did
So it
you
was kind
learn?
of funny.
Go ahead.
No, you're good.
Well, I was just going to say, so, at the hospital, you were
I was a health unit coordinator and a pediatric tech.
okay. Yeah, that's far different from working in, a fitness club.
Yeah.
What do you think you learned from having to juggle from going from being a front desk person at the gym to having to run the whole fucking thing? That's a huge responsibility.
Oh yeah.
Far
But
different.
it was so rewarding though, because literally from that one experience, I was the only operations manager to hold on to our staff the longest. And we also brought the attrition rate to the lowest they'd ever seen. So that attrition rate is where the members feel like they're getting what they're paying for. They're happy. They're content. And really and what I learned the most was building a relationship with people is so important. It's so important. Like even if you're just going out on the floor, saying good morning. I mean, you have your regulars that come in at 5 a.m. You have your night crew that comes in around 4 p.m. and until like way late at night. And then you also have the members that come in at midnight. And so really like learning your employees. That's so important. It's so important. I can't stress that enough. The more involved and the more you know about your employees and the more you continue to build that relationship and show them that you care, they will move mountains for you. They will. And that's what my employees did. I'm not kidding. When I said like I held on to my staff the longest, I was the only operations manager since my operations director had been in business that had held on to her staff.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's awesome. And you're right. I can totally see. That's building relationships with people in general.
Oh, yeah.
Which this day and age people don't do because they're in their fucking phones.
Yeah. Well, that's social media, I think, has killed it.
Yeah.
Because why are you going to text your friend, or why are you going to show up to their house when you could text them, or why are you going to show up to their house and you're posting everything on Facebook? Like there's such a disconnect nowadays, and people don't have the social skills that they used to because it's all at the touch of their hand.
Exactly. No, I totally agree. And I also, to tie back a little bit to subconscious mind programming, if you think about, most people don't like making cold calls, right?
No.
I don't know too many people that say, oh yeah, I can't wait to go and make a cold call. Why do you think that is? Well, I'll tell you why. Because as a child, we were taught not to speak to strangers, right? In fact, every child was told not to speak to strangers. Well, there was never a time where we got permission subconsciously to talk to strangers. And I believe that we were programmed at such a young age that until you give yourself that permission to talk to strangers, that's why people struggle. Yep. And I truly believe that.
I agree with that. I completely agree with that. My thing is just always be the person that you want to meet, right?
Sure.
So if you're constantly trying to be friends with somebody, or you never know who it's going to touch or how it's going to touch them. I can't tell you how many times that Like for instance, I did the women's retreat for my church, and so they gathered a bunch of women. We went up and I spoke and gave like did like a study, and then kind of spoke about my life and things that I've been through and the experiences that I've had and how far I've come, and what got me to that point and like some trials that I went through. And you never know who it's going to touch. It's the smallest message. I mean, like for instance, like I text my friends all the time, like my girlfriends. I'm like, "Hey, beautiful, how are you?" Why? And and it's because I believe in my own head, like, do they get called beautiful every day? Do they get called pretty every day? Do they get called gorgeous every day? You never know, And so if it's just that one simple little text that says, "Hey, beautiful, I just checking in on you. I want to see how you're doing." Or, I mean, they can all vouch for it. I call them all beautiful. It's funny. But if it's just that one simple little message, like.
And it can change. Go ahead.
Oh, yeah. In the gym, I used to do like little Post-it notes. You're going to laugh at this. It's kind of funny. So we did these little Post-it notes, and I would go in the lockers and we would stick it in and be like, "Hope you're having a great day. Just smile today. Change someone's life today." Like just some super little rinky-dink thing. But people would grab them and they would post them and tag us in it on our page.
That is so genius. Such a simple act of kindness.
Yeah.
And I am sure you changed so many people's day by doing that. But, my wife says, "Corey, I try to smile at somebody every day because you never know what kind of day they're having." And she's exactly right. And you don't know. They could be going through the worst times of their life. And because you reached out and just said hello or smiled and said, "Hey," or she'll comment, she'll say, "Hey," like if it were you, she would say, "Oh, like, I love your glasses." Sometimes I'm like, do you really like her glasses, or are you just fucking saying that? and like, but she does it because she genuinely wants to see somebody else smile, and every time she gets it, every time. And I wish I could remember to do that as often as she does, but she's really, really, really good at that. Yeah, that's awesome. It really.
I know it sounds funny, but that's really what we did. And then we would even like how they have the little IKEA green plants in the bathrooms and stuff. We used to stick notes or like stick them wherever and just kind of leave little things. And I'd be like, "Okay, your note days today. Here you go. Fill out some bunch of them and just go put them everywhere."
That is so fantastic. In fact, there was a guy that I don't think he's in the syndicate. He's not. He was visiting. But he had invested, his new company he created a notepad, just a sticky notepad that has sayings on it. And so
affirmations?
No, it was for like kids' lunchbox.
Okay.
Genius.
Yeah.
Right? or for a guy to give his wife. And for me, I write my wife notes when I think about it, and I do it probably, I don't know, twice, maybe 3 times a week.
Yeah.
And I'll leave them on her coffee or whatever the case may be because she loves that shit. And so what he's done is now he's taking the work out of it for me. I don't actually have the notes because that takes the authenticity away from it. But for somebody, for a lot of people, that's a huge step in the right direction, for somebody that doesn't normally do that, that could 100% change your wife or your husband's day. Totally.
It changes everything for sure.
Absolutely. So, tell me about your biggest fear, your one biggest fear that I wouldn't say that plagued, like, not that stops you in your tracks, but like something that's a real fear of yours.
My biggest fear is not being the best mom. Like always fearing, like, am I doing things right, or am I leading them down the right path, or what could I do to be better? I think that's my biggest fear. It's just because, like I said, you have these little humans that are relying on you for everything, literally everything, anything and everything you do, they watch.
Yeah, for sure. But guess what? Do you think that you would be in the position, do you think the universe or God, whatever you believe, I think it's the same.
I agree. I think it's the same too. I I even posted one time, I was like, universe, God, whatever you believe, it's all the same.
It's all the same.
Yep.
But the, the whatever you want to call it has us here for a reason. Even right now, there's a reason why we connect. There's a reason
Oh,
why
I
we
can.
connected there, and
Yeah. Yeah. I
so
completely agree with that.
100%. So
Oh, yeah.
the fact is that you are always in the right place at the right time. Well,
Hmm.
maybe not always, but for the most part, So if you make good decisions, I believe that there's a reason why we are where we are at the
Mm,
times that we are. I do believe that.
yeah.
Um, totally believe that. So, all right, you talked I what would you say that um, what would you say is, let's go with, in what way are your own worst enemy?
uh, I don't know. I think I'm too hard on myself
Okay.
for sure. Like, I think and like I told you before, I think we're our biggest critics for sure. What people see and they're like, oh my gosh, that's amazing, and you're always constantly down on yourself. Like, oh, I could have done that better. Oh, I could have done this, or I should have done this, you know, I think
Sure.
but I think that's everybody. I think we're all our own worst enemy.
Oh, I totally 100% agree. Is there a specific time that you can think of, maybe it comes up more often than not, that you struggle with, or yeah, that you struggle with? Anything
Um,
specific that comes to mind? Before the
mm,
conversation, we were talking about you when you did your shows. I don't think we've mentioned that.
yeah. Yeah, no, we haven't mentioned that at all. Uh, with things that you struggle with show is just your body image. Like, it
Go.
does it with your head. It messes with your head. Like, you're training so hard to complete this masterpiece is what we consider it as. Right? It's your masterpiece. You're showing off something that you worked so hard for, and for one day, whatever happens, like, you're putting everything on the line to walk out on that stage and give you the best present possible, right? You're
Absolutely.
giving everything you've got. You've been posing for weeks. You're back there. You're pumping up. You're giving the best thing that you have, and walking off that stage and knowing it's over, and still trying to wrap your head around, like, it's normal to gain an extra 5-10 pounds. It's normal to look normal. Like, that way you're designed during that show is not how you're supposed to be. That is only for that one night. And so that was definitely the hardest obstacle I had to overcome for sure after my first show. Nobody told me about that either. But everybody had the same problem, but nobody ever said anything about it. And then you get to the end and you're just like, oh shit. Like, I just gained 10 pounds, and you're looking in the mirror and you're like, okay, I did not look like this a week ago at my show. And it's just getting your head past that point and knowing, like, it's okay. You're not in show mode. Like, that's not obtainable for the rest of your life. Like, that's one show, one shot until you move on to the next show.
Which body class were you in? Physique, or
So,
was it?
no, I just did the bikini division. So
Okay.
the little bit the softer version of bodybuilding.
Tell me the difference.
So physique is more or less, they're very lean and they build more muscle. So you see more muscle fibers and things like that. With bikini, you still want the illusion of, like, having, like, the cap shoulders. You still want the V cut waist, and you also want the glute and hammy tie-in on your
Okay.
backside.
Okay. And so, how many weeks? Walk me through that process. Like, you started
Oh,
training. How many weeks
oh my
beforehand?
goodness. So it goes even before that. So my whole goal after I had Essence, I was like, everyone always says after your second, third kid, your body doesn't bounce back. They're like, it does not bounce back like the first one. It takes some work. And I was like, okay. So I prepared myself mentally. And after I had Essence, my whole goal was, that's it. I'm going to go to the gym. I'm going to be at my pre-pregnancy weight. I'm determined. I'm going to get it done no matter what. So I get to that point, finally hit my weight, and I'm like, yes, okay, right on. And then I'm like, oh shit, what am I going to do next? Because I'm like, okay, that was my motivation to get to the gym every day and hit from point A to point B. Now what? And my friend was talking one day, and she's like, why don't you do a show? Never even heard of shows, never knew about them, never had any background in them, had no knowledge whatsoever of shows. And I was like, okay, I'm going to do a show. And this, you'll learn this about me very quickly. When I put my mind to something, it's going to happen no matter what. And I will move hell and high water to make it happen. So I went literally the next day, and I went and found a coach. Nobody believed me. They're like, you're not going to do a show. You don't even know what it takes. You have no background about a show. The next day I went and found a coach, met with her, paid my dues for her, and started immediately. And 9 weeks later, did my first show. 11 weeks later, did my second show. And then my third show was a little bit longer because of the critiquing that I got back from the judges and things that I had to work on. I think I did 25 weeks of prep that time. It was rough.
Oh, I bet.
Yeah.
So, most people who are successful, typically in business, make decisions very fast.
Oh, yeah.
And so that is a perfect example of, you made the decision in less than 24 hours. And if you hadn't have, there's no telling what would have happened. You may have never done it.
No, I don't think I would have if I had never took that step, for sure. Because it literally was just that one thing. I was like, I'm going to do it. And they're like, you ain't going to do it. You don't even know what you're doing. You've never even done anything like that. I'm like, oh shit, you watch. I'm going to get it. I'm going to do it. And literally I called everyone the next day. I was like, I got a coach. I'm going for it.
That's awesome. It's probably good that you didn't know what the hell it's probably good you didn't know what you were getting into beforehand.
Yeah, my first show I placed top 10, so I got second call out. And when I came back to the judges, because they say always go back to the judges and get feedback from every judge so you know what you need to work on before your next show. And I went to the judges and I figured out everything that I needed to work on. And I literally went and took my ass to the gym the next day and I started working on it. And the second show I got first place. But I was determined. I was like, this is going to happen. I'm walking out with a trophy this time.
And how did you feel to win first place? And it's something that you had done for 9 or 10, 12, how many weeks was it?
My second show was 11 weeks.
Okay. From start to 11 weeks.
So my first show was 9 weeks, and I literally went immediately into my next prep for my second show.
Gotcha. So 9 weeks for the first show, 11 for the second. So 20 weeks, and you were walking off.
No, 11.
Oh, you did 2 shows in 11 weeks.
Yeah. So I did my first show 9 weeks into my prep, and then when I hit week 11, I did my second show. So 2 weeks later, I did my second show.
That's insane.
Yeah, I took my ass straight to the gym. I was like, I'm getting the trophy. I don't care what it takes. And I went out and I asked everybody, I was like, what do I need to do to get these judges' attention? How do I need to do it? And they're like, keep eye contact, smile, don't look at anybody else, don't focus on anybody else coming out the door. And I was like, I'm going out there, I'm going to get this trophy.
Would you contribute some of that to, the fact that, how we always talk, we hear about, visualization and seeing all the way to the end. I'm a firm believer that if you see a project or if you see, a real estate deal, whatever it may be, if you see it to the end, you may not know all the steps in between, but if you can
just know
actually see it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you think that played a role?
Oh, yeah. I was determined. I was like, I am not walking out without a trophy this show. And I went and I busted my butt. I probably worked harder in those 2 weeks than I did the 9 weeks previously.
Wow.
Yeah.
Would you say that was would you say that's probably one of your most successful feelings?
Oh, yeah, for sure. Because it's knowing all that work and all that preparation and the diets and the weird, like waking up in the morning, having to do your cardio at a specific time to get your fasted cardio in, and then going to the gym at night and just constantly working and working. It was actually really good for my kids to see that, honestly. Essence is like a little mimicker. So she used to walk around, stick a spoon in the peanut butter and eat it, and then walk around with a jug of water. I even have a picture of her sitting on my stairs eating a spoonful of peanut butter with a jug of water next to her. So it was good for her to see that. And even my kids, when I was there every single day, like, because we had like a little fitness center, part of our like HOA thing that we paid for, had like a little fitness area. And so we'd go walk down there all together, all of us, and they would be doing crunches and sit-ups and pulling little tiny weights. Like, so it's good for them to see that and instill it in them as well.
Yes, absolutely. 100%. That is such a cool story. So, who would you say, I'm pretty sure I have an idea, but who would you say has been like your biggest inspiration in your life? Or, I mean, I would say my guess, go ahead.
Go ahead. Let's hear you.
Twofold. So twofold. So
okay.
I'm assuming it's Tyler at this point. It's probably
yeah,
a big one, because my wife is the same. So that's why I'm like, okay, I kind of know the answer to that. But secondly, outside of family, who would you say that would be?
Outside of family? Oh, shoot. That's a hard one. Because it's just my kids and Tyler. That's really, those are the only two motivators I have, because I want to build the best life possible for my kids. Like, so to go even further into that, I don't get child support. I don't get money sent to me to help me with my kids. So that was my determination of being like, oh shit, I need to buckle down, be able to raise my kids and still give them a life that they can produce, that I can produce for them, that's still good, and still work towards that goal. And that's actually, you're going to die even more. Okay. This is how crazy this is. So I was praying one night and I was being very specific, and Tyler knows this story because I've even told it to him. So I was praying and I was like, look, I need to make this, Lord. I need to do this. Like, I need A, B, and C. Like, this is what's going on in my life. I need to be able to do this, that, and the other. And I was laying in bed when I was praying it, and I was being very specific when I was praying. And I've never prayed super specific. Like, it's always like, Lord, yeah, like when you pray, some people just pray, I want the world to be a better place, help me with this or help this person. Like, never actual specific things. And that night I was. And I never on Facebook that late. And this is how me and Tyler actually met. So I'm on Facebook, like I get done praying, I jump on Facebook, first post that pops up, it's Tyler hiring for a position. And I was like, no freaking way, are you kidding me? So I'm commenting and I'm sending him an inbox message, and I'm like, I'm interested in your position, can you tell me more about it? Like, what's the pay? And I'm just asking him all these questions, and of course it's late, so I don't get a response till the next day. And so he finally responds, we talk a little bit and trade numbers, send my resume to him, come in, set up an interview for that Sunday. And he can even attest to this, because he's like, he saw me and was like, oh shit, I'm in trouble. I came in that Sunday, interviewed, and just kind of gave him, like, answered all his questions, and got hired that day. And when I first got hired, I was only hired as a personal assistant.
Okay.
And I think I came in and like this, he was just like, I need this, I need that, I need that, da da da, and just A, B, and C, just kept doing it and doing more than expected, and slowly started giving me some more, then started recruiting, then started helping him build, then started building these, we do things so differently with our team, and that's the beauty of it. And that's why our team is growing and why people are attracted to it, is because we built packets now of information to like help them and learn materials and things like that. And more than just that, like helping them visualize and helping them journal, that stuff that he taught me. I never did any of that. I never journaled or visualized and things like that. You know, when I went for first place, it wasn't a visualization. It was just like, damn it, I'm gonna get that trophy. I'm gonna work my ass off until I get that trophy, no matter what it takes. And I'm gonna take my ass to the gym, and I'm gonna be there, and I'm gonna do whatever it takes until that tightens up and it looks the way it's supposed to. But never actually like closing your eyes and visualizing. Like, that's stuff I never did before, and it was so weird. It tripped me out for a minute because when he started introducing me to it and I started doing it, and things started unfolding and started getting a little bit more unfolded. And yeah, it's been a ride for sure. A good one though.
For sure. So it's interesting. I can kind of, my wife and I both, in our previous marriage, and I've been married 3 times. Mm-hmm. She's been married just the once, and now me, of course. We both wished for the next person that we met to be exactly the way we are. Now, I say that because like, so there are things about our relationship that either I wanted more of and she wanted less of in our previous relationship. Mm-hmm. And now we both got exactly what we want, exactly what we wanted. And so we're both sometimes like, fuck, well, we did kind of ask for this, exactly for this. And it's just so funny because, like you said, like we're perfect for each other. And I don't know anybody else I do now that has a successful business, relationship, and marriage.
It's crazy when I say it. It's crazy. It is. Like, I'm not kidding when I say that. I think he's still even a little taken back by it because I don't think he could even work with somebody and still have a relationship with them and still have them understand them and be able to tolerate them for 24 hours a day, every day, and still be able to communicate with each other and be there for each other and still love each other unconditionally. It's like, it's a different love. It's a different attachment. It's a different feeling. Just everything is new. It's so new for both of us.
Sure. And it kind of stays that way, stays that way. So what, all right. So for, there are obviously going to be women that listen to our podcast. What would you say to women that kind of have gone through some of the similar things that you have gone through with, we'll start with like maybe even having, starting out, in a place where you had a child really early, you had to work your ass off. What would you say to the people that are going through that right now? Because there are I'm sure God knows how many women out there that are going through exactly that. What would you say to them?
Don't give up. Your kids are so important and they're worth every penny and anything that you have to go through. That's just my number one message to them. No matter what it is, there's always going to be when people say this, there's a light at the end of the tunnel. As long as you keep progressing, you keep working and you keep moving and, no matter what, just don't stop. Like, your kid is worth it in every way, shape, and form. What you brought them, you were entrusted with this human that loves you unconditionally, that looks up to you so much that just don't stop. Don't ever stop. You plow through whatever obstacle comes your way and you just keep moving forward, and eventually at the end of the line, you're going to get the benefit.
And I would say that if I had to guess, that's probably the same as it would be if, heaven forbid, anything were to ever happen to my wife or Tyler, like, it would be the same thing. Like, I'm pretty sure you would do whatever the fuck you had to do to make sure that everything was taken care of.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. It don't matter. You work 2 jobs, you work 3, you figure it out, you make a way. And eventually the hard work pays off. And I mean, did I ever think I'd be where I'm at today? No way. You know, back then, if you would have asked me, the next thing I was thinking of is just getting to work from 9 to 5, or, you know, back then you don't think about that. You're just trying to get everything together and still pay everything and still provide and still be there and still be a mom and still be caring and still doing, you know, you're wearing so many hats at the same time. It's just, and you get worn out. And that's the thing that people have to remember is you're so worn out sometimes that sometimes you need that reassurance, and you need your family, and you need people to constantly be there to be like, hey, I'm here, I'm there, you know, or be a best friend to somebody and just say, I'm here for you to lean on, girl, even if it's just a talk or vent. Like, I have people call me all the time. They will just vent or be like, hey, I just wanted to message you, and this is what I'm going through. Like, it's weird. Your story will inspire so many people. Just keep moving forward and don't look at the past. Everybody makes mistakes. That's the other thing, is like, don't hold it against yourself, because everybody's going to make mistakes. It's a part of life, but it's what you do after you make the mistake that's the most important. So learn something new from that mistake and grow from it.
Absolutely. And, you know, you just said something, and we'll wrap up, but you just said something that was really important that we went through today, or we established, I don't know how long ago, that whenever my wife decides whenever she needs to vent, so if, you know, to all the men that listen to this podcast, fucking have that communication, because if she just needs to vent, shut the fuck up. Don't try to fix it. As hard as it is, just sit there and fucking listen. It makes no sense to me, because I'm like, all right, well, let me think here. I'm sitting here writing shit down how to fix X, Y. She was like, dude, like, I just need you to shut up and listen. Like, just listen. I don't need a solution.
Sometimes we just need to do it. We just have to vent. We're just like, whoa. Like, just let me say what I need to say really fast. And then it's not an attack. It's just more or less like, this is how I feel and this is why I'm feeling it. And I just need you to understand. And I know you don't understand, but I still need you to understand. I don't care.
Right. Just don't say anything. You know? And men just don't fucking say anything, because that's what you're looking for. You just want to get it out.
Yep.
So, last thing I'll ask you is, if you had to suggest a couple of books that have really made an impact in your life, 2 books that have just been.
Yes. So Tyler actually told me to read Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself. I loved it. So hard to read at the beginning, but Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself, like, once you get through if you slow read it and start to understand it and the way things work. Dr. Joe Dispenza. You look confused.
Oh, okay. So I'm sitting here like, of course I'm like, why does that sound so familiar? Absolutely. I love him.
Yes.
Oh my God, he's so amazing. Anyway, I could go on about him forever. So
Tyler is actually the one that told me to read that book, and yeah. It's a great book. A little hard to read, so you slow read it and really intake what it's saying and understand it and try to and wrap your brain around it. And it's a great book. Destiny is by T.D. Jakes. He's actually a preacher. Yeah. But it's so good. So Destiny. Good. Okay. Yeah, it's Destiny, and it says step into your purpose, but it's a really good book. You get a lot of really good takeaways from it.
I'll have to check that out. I know who he is, but I'd never heard of that book.
Yeah. I even actually went and bought that book for my aunt, my mom, and my brother. I was like, you have to read this. It's so good.
So is it safe to assume that you've read or listened to The Placebo Effect?
I don't think I've read that one. I'm going to have to read that one. No.
Dr. Joe?
No, the Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself was the very first one that I've read. So I'm going to have to get that one.
It's phenomenal. It'll blow your head. You know his story, of course.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, it goes through that and how he rehabbed himself, so on and so forth. I don't need to tell you, but if the people that are listening have not read that book, you are missing out, because that's huge.
I'm going to have to get that one.
It's amazing. It really is.
Really?
It was my first introduction to him, and I was just in awe. So, like, I will go to one of his
I feel like that's
retreats.
what Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself did for me. I was literally writing Tyler. I'm like, this book is crazy. I had to read a little bit slower, but wow,
Yeah, it is crazy. So the supernatural book's a little bit challenging too. It's a harder
Yeah.
read for sure.
Yeah.
And I don't like the audio book because it's not him reading it. So anyway. All right. So Brandy, thank you so much. I
Yeah,
know we
you're
ran a little
welcome.
bit over time,
Oh,
but
you're fine.
you did wonderful. Thank you. I
Oh,
really
you're
appreciate
so
you.
welcome.
Yes, absolutely. If there's ever anything that I can do to help you, just let me know. And
Yeah.
have a wonderful night. I'll let you know when it's going to drop.
Okay. Thank
All right.
you so much.
Absolutely. Thank you.
See
Have
you
a good
later.
night. Bye-bye.
You too.
I got to figure out how to turn this thing off. All right.